right now. Okay, the recording is now in progress. So the idea for it's to record all these sessions is to send you the link so you can listen again in streaming the whole session, and you can even share with other colleagues that you may deem it's appropriate. The idea for this session is to repeat the session we had on BI, on the Web Intelligence reports for supply chain. The reports that are stored in the shared folder analysis in BI in production. Let me go real quick to BI. So we will basically going from production in BI here, this page to the presentation. So we'll be going back and forward, right? So this is the shared analysis folder. This is the place where most of the analytic users, power users share their reports across all DFS and other UN entities. So the idea for us is to go through some interesting reports, web intelligence reports that our colleagues in Valencia, the developers, BI developers that we have here, have designed in order to, let's say, make our lives a bit easier. While we want to analyze the contracts, while we want to analyze end-to-end scenarios from the shopping cart to the PO. So the plan for today, it's basically repeat the session that we did yesterday, right? As you may recall, we started with a BI introduction from last week. So what we did is we went through the basic features of the tool, why BI, how is the tool designed in order to report based on different modules in Umoja, who has access, the different segregation of roles, how to request roles, which are the type of reports, basic navigation of the tool. So all those things we wanted to have for you to have clarity before we jumped into the reports themselves, because we found out that sometimes we jump directly in some BI reporting, we explain things, and some of the audience or participants do not actually or have never entered into the system, into the BI model in Umoja. So that's why it makes them a bit difficult to follow all the sessions. So we wanted to make sure that everyone is in the same board, and then we jump into the report part. So we did yesterday the third one, BI reports to be used by BI 14 role, and today, on Friday 23rd, is the repetition of the session. So basically the plan for today is we're going to cover three main parts, some reports in contracts, some other reports in procurement in peacekeeping only. For special political missions, we do not have these type of reports, but please feel free to request. I'll submit any ticket if you think that it will be interesting for you in case that you are an Umoja entity within the fund 10 UNA, or you are you're working in political mission. It will be important for you to request these type of reports. At the end of the session, we'll send you or you'll see the I need the group that you can use for sending or submitting the request, or a generic email account where you can request any malfunctioning or any issue or any problem that you may see while using BI or these reports in particular, or in case that you may need specific reporting in BI. And finally, we'll do the end-to-end reports, a couple of them. So first in contracts, we'll cover three: contract entity by purchasing group, this same report but with buyers. So we'll have information of the different contracts and the IDs of the contracts, the validation of the validity or duration of the contract, and expiration dates. And we have the same report but with buyers. So people responsible for calling off all the POs related to one particular contract. So we'll identify who those people are, and they will be assigned to all those different contracts in the mission in each purchasing group. The third will be the regional and local contracts. So in a nutshell, basically it's the same information that you may find in the previous two, but with information at the header level from each contract in US dollars. That information is missing in SRM, and we can find the value, total value, and release value of each of the contracts in local currency. For procurement and peacekeeping, we have a couple of them by fund center and by vendor, basically POs and status of POs by fund center and vendor with a nice view or graphical view of how the POs have been, let's say, used by vendor or fund center. And finally, the two, let's say, more interesting reports to the result end-to-end scenario, which are report number 6, end-to-end report timeline from shopping cart to PO, and end-to-end report based on shopping cart. So, as I said before, all these reports are within the shared analysis folder, and more specifically within the 01 SBI support folder. For each of the reports, we'll show you exactly which are the directories you have to go through in order to find the reports. So first, we're going to cover the reports related to contracts. And please, any information, any comments, any questions you may pose in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat as I'm going through the presentation and different scenarios, or you can use your microphone as you wish. So in terms of contracts, what we have here, if we go to the share analysis folder first, and then the specific folder on 01 DFS support, and within that folder we have 10 search to acquire folder, we might find 3 subfolders. First, end-to-end, second, OCHA, third, system contracts. But we are going to focus first into reports, which are the contracts entity by purchasing group and contracts entity by purchasing group with buyer. These are the two that we will cover now. And then we will jump into system contracts folder, and there we'll show you another one. As you can see, you have plenty of other reports, ones related to LBA and ICs. Other reports for MONUSCO, for example. So I guess that one person from MONUSCO created a report based on another one that our colleagues created and placed it here. So, but we have been going through all these different reports and we found some glitches, some bugs. So we do not want to show to you how they work until they are fixed. So our colleagues have to do a bit of a cleansing of all these directories and come up with the reports that are working fine. And these ones, the ones we're going to show to you, we believe that are working fine. So in the meantime, you focus on the reports we are going to cover in our WebEx, and then I guess some weeks from now, I guess that all this done of all the data cleansing and all the modification of the reports that are not working fine will be done by our colleagues. So first, contract entity by purchasing group. This is how it looks. It's all, as we said before, it's all web intelligence reports. So these reports are kind of static. The information you see is what you're going to get once you export to Excel or PDF. Limited possibilities for you to customize the report, but on the other hand, if this is what you need, you may find it really useful, and then you can send it by email. You can schedule these reports to be sent to your own email on the frequency that you wish. So although these are not the typical analysis workspaces that you create, like a pivot table in Excel, in which the analysis, these reports, the web intelligence reports, are kind of useful because are based on requirements from end users, let's say. So first one, the contract entity by purchasing group. This is the location, so you see exactly which is the directory where you can find this report. And it's basically a list of all the contracts broken down by purchasing group with the contract status, reference of the contract, the subject, start date, expiry date, target value at header level, release value at header level, and the MT amount. On top of that, at the bottom, you will find a couple, 2, 3, 4 tabs where you can find pie charts related to the list of contracts that you have launched, or even bar charts. So let's go to production and see how they look automatically. So remember that it's in the share analysis folder. 01 DFS. I open this folder. I go directly to source to acquire. And here you see this is the same view that I have in the presentation. Let me go back. You see this is the view in the presentation, and this is the view in production. So contract entity by purchasing group. As I will click, some of these reports take some time, okay, to refresh. What we will do is basically we will not launch the query. You know that we can launch the query by clicking here and refresh. But this is the last report we ran the other day. So it's okay for us as long as we do go through the report and we see how it works. It doesn't matter whether this is a purchasing group related to MINUSMA, to MINUSCA, or to UNAMID, right? So it's information stored there will vary depending on the mission, of course, but at the end of the day, it's the same structure of report. So this is the list of all the contracts for a particular mission with the status of them. See, if I scroll down, the header stays frozen, so I can take a look of all this list of contracts. And if I scroll to my right, I will have information on start dates, expiry dates, target value at header level, release value at header level, NTE amount, and if I scroll even more to my right, I will see some colors here. The expenditure ratio, the percentage of expenditure over the total, let's say, release value, and the contract year. This will be exactly the year, the current year where the contract is live. So this particular contract released with this particular contract ID, it's within the third year of contract, and we have 626 days to expire. Okay, so far we have no expenditure whatsoever. That's why it's in green. Whereas if we see something in red here in terms of NTE, then we're sure that we're basically reaching the NTE amount. You see that the NTE for this particular contract is $264,000, and the expenditure is almost there, 251, which actually makes 95% of the NTE amount almost reached. And it's 5 days already expired. So it's in red, meaning that this contract probably it's not going to be used anymore. All right. So in a nutshell, in a snapshot, you have a pretty good idea of how many contracts you've got, the status of each one of them, and the NTE amount for each of the contracts. That's in terms of list, okay? List of contracts. But if you see all these tabs down at the bottom, if I go to the second tab, charts by purchasing group, here they have the same information in terms of total number of contracts broken down by procurement units. In this case, it's INSOS, the mission that we launched a report with 4 or 3 procurement units and 1 PD regional procurement office. And this is the total number of contracts by each of the procurement units. If I scroll down, I will have the same information in terms of NTE value of contracts. So it looks pretty much the same in terms of number of contracts and the value of the contracts. And then I have the same information here by in table. So as you modify the query here, if I change the query here, all the charts will be changed accordingly. The third tab, charts by year, will give you an overview of the NTE used of all the contracts you've got in your portfolio against the expiration year, meaning that these years from 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, these are all the contracts that I have in terms of the years that are going to be expired. And I will have in some other year, like in 2016 and 2017, the majority of the contracts are going to expire in these years, and then I will have information in terms of colors about the NTE used. So if it is used the NTE as a whole below 50%, I will have 85 contracts here in 2017. If the NTE is used between 75 and 100%, in 2017, I will have 8 contracts. In the contracts expiring in 2017, I will have 8 contracts. Green will be NTE used between 50 and 70%, and the one in red will be the ones used over 100%. So we see here that the majority of the contracts who are going to be, or who have expired in 2017 were used below 50%. So that's already an indication of how things are doing under mission. If we go down the contract status versus expiration date, we will have the same, slightly the same information by procurement units. So we will have the number of contracts expired, valid, or the ones to be expired in 8 months, broken down by each of the purchasing groups in UNSOS, for example. If we even scroll down more, we'll have this, I don't know, scattered chart where we can find all these dots. These dots will represent different contracts, okay? And the period where they are in terms of the duration, so it will be from 0% to 100%. So if a contract it's middle term, let's say, it will be around here, so 50%. Then on this line, you have the NT consumed in percentage, 100% here, from here. So we may find a lot of contracts around this area, right, in this corner on the right. A lot of them are about to reach the 100% or NT, but are about to expire as well. Okay. Some others, like this one, for example, have reached 66% of NT and only 14% of the time since it started has passed. So, you know, it's kind of like a pretty complete idea. You will have a pretty complete idea how the contracts are in terms of NT used, the status versus expiration date, and the whole portfolio of contracts in this scattered chart. All right, here we have plenty of contracts with basically no expenditure whatsoever, but they are about reaching 80% of its life. Okay, so a pretty nice view visualization of the data for all your contracts in your mission. Remember, first tab will be the list of contracts, second chart, the pie charts, and the total number of contracts and the NT value. Third tab will be the charts by year. And the fourth will be basically the same information that was in the first tab, the list of contracts by each of the purchasing groups with information about fund center, fund, and business area. All right, so let me go back to the presentation. So this is the first one, the contract NT, the purchasing group. Okay, if we go to the second one, contract NT, the purchasing group with buyer, we pretty much are going to have the same information as you can see. This is the second one, so I double click. Hopefully it will not take so much time. All right, so in this contract in particular, you see I have here instead of 4, I have 5 tabs. Basically, the first 4 are equal to the previous reports, and the fifth one, contract buyer, here it's a list of all the contracts that I have in my mission with the buyer assigned. You see, we may have one or plenty of buyers assigned to each contract. Here, for example, there is a bug. In the first column, I have a contract number, but in the second one, I will expect here to see a buyer's name, something like that, right? It's blank. So this is something that we will report to our colleagues. Obviously, you can export to Excel. You can do plenty of things in terms of sending all this information through email or even to the BA inbox of another colleague. Obviously, you can filter as well. So you see that you have the list of contracts for your mission that you want to filter using the filter bar. It will give you an icon here, and from there you will be able to filter by different categories of elements. For example, by contract status. So all the contract status, all the values that we have is completed, deleted, released, or saved will be there. So the ones that are, let's say, released by all the procurement groups will appear here. Okay. I want to add another filter, for example, location, location, but it doesn't have any information. Let me take the purchase group, for example. Then I can see all the release contracts by purchasing group, for example, the procurement unit number 2. I will have only 7 contracts here. And the same information if I scroll to my right in terms of expenditure ratio, dates to expiry, and information on the NTE and duration. Okay. So first, this was the first report. Second report, the only difference between the two is this fifth tab. You can find it here in the, you see, this is the presentation difference between the two reports. It's basically the one with buyer. It's this column that you can find in the contract buyer tab down there. Any questions so far? I see that we don't have as many participants as yesterday. Probably, it's Friday afternoon, so I totally understand. So the next report is not within the source to acquire folder. Remember that the first two were stored in the source to acquire folder here, first and second one. The third one is within existing contracts, this folder. If I double click there, thank you, Kiran, for your feedback. Thanks. It's this first fourth item here, regional and local contracts ready. So let me double click. You see the last refresh time took 1 minute 7 seconds. Actually, this is pretty good. So you see that there is no common behavior in terms of prompts or query in the eye. You saw that the first two reports did not pop up any type of query or prompt, but the third automatically, it's giving me the option to fill in the prompt. So let me just put a purchasing group. And remember, actually, it's good that we work a bit with the prompts because sometimes it's a bit tricky to use them. So let's see that I want to find all the contracts for MONUSCO, right? I don't know all the purchasing groups in MONUSCO. So what I will do here is I will put a star, type MONUSCO, another star. So I am telling basically the system, give me all the purchasing groups with the word MONUSCO in it. I click on search, and the system will retrieve 8 of them, right? I select the 8 of them, and I put them on the right. So the purchasing group in MONUSCO, 8 of them are there. And in terms of validity of the contracts, I have a range of dates. I'm putting here 20 years by default from 20 years. I leave it like that. So I've basically from 2010 to 2030, all the contracts that have a valid start within that range or finish or date and finish in that range will appear in my analysis. So I click on OK, and I wait until the report is run. Okay. Remember that, and I saw some of the questions in the last session, from yesterday's session, related to how to schedule reports, these web intelligence reports. If we have time at the end, we'll show you how to do it. So we go run. You see the report is there from MONUSCO. Plenty of purchasing groups, 8 of them. What I'm going to see here, okay. The same information in terms of contracts number. I only have here one tab. So this is basically what I can see. One tab with smart number, the validity, from to purchasing group, contract status, contract owner. Scroll to my right. I'll see this information. Even more. here. I have a target value at header level in US dollar, release value at header level in US dollar. Remember that for regional local contracts, we usually do not have this information in the system. That's why it's kind of useful, this report, because it will give you information of the header level from these contracts in US dollars, right? I have here this information, but in document currency here, which is this one, right? Euros, US dollars, some of them, Uganda shillings. So in order to make sure that at header level we know exactly the local currency, US dollars, we go to these two columns, target value and release value. Okay, so the same thing, you can filter by different attributes here. And let me go back to the presentation so it's clear. So that's the contract. And this is the added value of this report is these two columns, the target value at header level and release value at header level in US dollars. How this is done? If I go to documents, to the folder itself, you see the report that I have just launched and file here in Excel with US exchange rates. And basically, the developers where they're inputting information in Excel with all the exchange rates for all the currencies with the US dollars by month. See if the information is there. Click here. Here we go. Okay. So you see, I have a February all the information and the exchange rate by all the currencies that we are managing in the US, in the UN, and its relation with US dollars. So based on this table, this report, and more specifically, these two columns are created. Okay. From the rest, it's not a big deal. So this information, you can have it in the other contracts. That this was a request coming from several missions, some I guess almost a year ago, and our guys came up with this idea of creating these two columns with the Excel that they have to update every single month here. Okay. All right. So those are the three reports that we're seeing here in contracts: contracts NTE, contract NTE by purchasing group, and regional contracts. Let me see some questions we have here in the chat. Yes, Sylvia, I could use another example for to search an element. She's asking whether I can do the same in the query to for transport for a specific SAU and a specific emission. Well, we'll see what the query is giving to us. Okay, if we want to repeat the query, we just click here on the refresh button. What do we have here? We have the product ID, we have purchase group, purchasing organization, the validity, and the contract number. We don't have more prompts here. So meaning that in case that we do want to, from the query itself, we want to filter by SAU or fund center, we cannot do it in the query itself. Okay, but we can go to the report and see whether we have information related to the SAU that we can use, which I don't believe. Okay, we can have for the third, no, but for the second and the first one, report, I believe that we do have. I think we have information in terms of remove this filter for fund center. Remove the filter and see whether it happens. So location, supplier, validity, reference, shopping cart, trade ID, functional area, business area, cost center. Let's see if I have more. Farm center. Sometimes we have here much more categories than in the reality that we have in our report. So we have plenty of information here, but at the end of the day, not all of them are working. So in terms of farm center, here I can find all the farm centers, but across all modules, you see. So I want to see MONUSCO aviation. Then I have here the information, but then the purchasing group is in UNMIL, so we have to check that part. So you see it's not linked to the initial query, but we have here all the farm centers across all models. Because it's email, right? So what we do, we have to only find here we have information on email, so we have to go for email. We have it here, email. Email here. Medical searches, medical, public information, movement control. So this will be the contrast for email in movement control SAU. Okay, so most of them in procurement unit 1, and some of them in procurement unit 2 and 3, with the total amount here. So yes, we can filter by fan center, but you have to pay attention, because when you go to the filter and to the tab, you have plenty of options here, not related to the report itself, but related to the whole portfolio of fan centers. Okay. So I invite you to go through these reports and find the contracts or the fan centers that you are looking for. Okay. You have the possibility, Sylvia, but you have to be aware that all the different fan centers across the board are automatically shown. Okay, and you have to find the ones that are in your report, the report that you have launched. In this case, it was email. So these were the first 3. So the first 3 reports were covered. And as I said, I invite you guys to go through these reports. I invite you to run them to see whether the information there makes sense. If it does not, please get back to the developers. You have information about how to reach them, because it's important that these reports are in good shape for you to do troubleshooting now, especially with that the Galileo, the whole system has decommissioned, and now we have inventory management in Moja and procurement, property management as well. And we have some sort of issues with the product IDs and categories when we create the shopping carts. In terms of inventory, Sylvia, we do have information, and reports, but they are in the testing phase. They are not exactly in production to be, let's say, used by the all end user family. We have to wait. Once all those reports are validated, we will be happy to show to you, to do a WebEx and show to you what we can find there. Plenty of them in terms of write-off, fixed assets, and many others. Okay, we'll keep you aware of all those reports for inventory management and property management. So procurement and peacekeeping, let me find, yes, Sylvia, I hear you in the chat. Understand. Thanks. Okay, so procurement and peacekeeping. We have fan center by vendor, how to find those. Okay, by sections. So again, it's in the share analysis folder, the FSBA support, source to acquire. And here I can find the report procurement peacekeeping by section, version 1.0. This is how it looks, the report. Funds, and all the different PO number of POs by cost center with the requested amount, confirmed amount, and the invoiced amount. Okay, I put here a note because calendar year in the initial query is not working. We'll see how that works. Okay, several tabs. If we go to the charts, you'll see that we have a detailed information in a world map view of all the vendors for the particular section that we are talking. We put in the initial query with the country of the vendors and different cost centers in the mission that are using in terms of amount DPOs. Okay, so let me go to production and show to you automatically. So is, as you remember, it's source to acquire, procurement and peacekeeping by sections. Double click. Let's see whether this report is prompting automatically or gives us some report already. Okay. So automatically you see all the different funds, you see, 20 of them by default. So let me select all of them, get rid of all of them, and only select, let's say, a couple of them. Let me just find, I'm using another way to find 20. 20 star 20 star. So if I look in searching key, which is that I'm searching a fund. This is the code using the fund. Even if I'm searching 20 key, I will have all the funds related to 20 OLA, 20 blah, 20 MCU. As you remember, all the peacekeeping operations, their fund start with 20. So let me just put MINUSCA and MINUSMA, for example, a couple of funds. And this is what I said before, the calendar year. If we put here the calendar year, somehow the prompt does not work. We don't know why, so we just leave it as it is with these funds, and we run the report. As I said, these guys are taking a look at these things. It takes time. Eh? So while we are launching that report, let me show to you the other, which is basically the same. Procurement and peacekeeping by sections. Instead of sections, now is vendors. So the information of the POs will be broken down by cost centers and by vendor. You see, here I had cost centers initially. In the other report, now I have vendors and then the cost centers. And the visualization of the data in terms of roadmap is pretty much the same. Okay, so let me launch that report as well. Procurement and peacekeeping by vendors. In this case, I will have by default 5 missions. I'm selecting, let's say, only one, so maybe it's faster. MINUSCA, for example. So star, MINUSCA, star. I'm looking not in key, but in the text of the font. So MINUSCA is there. I put it right. I'm not inputting the calendar year because somehow the query is not working. In our launch, usually this report, the one for vendors, takes less time than the other one. You see here the last refresh time for the one in sections or cost centers is 5 minutes, and this one is 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, so you can see. Okay, any questions so far? I know that you guys are needing reports in terms of inventory and property management. It's been something, I mean, these guys are working for since, I guess, mid last year on fixed assets and write-off type of reports. As I said, these reports have been validated now, are in quality in a quality testing phase, and then when, well, that phase is finished and those reports are in production, then I guess that we will be able to see and validate those reports directly in production, and we will be able to train you guys or show to you how they work. So this is one for vendors. So I do have the fund. In this case, it was Minuska, and I think only was Minuska, exactly. With the name of the vendor, co-center, the description, the number of POs by each of these vendors, the requested amount, confirmed amount, and invoiced amount. Okay, if I go to charts, I have the information of, as we said before, all the different vendors, where they come from. So here the majority of them are coming from Italy and the USA. And then in terms of requested amount of POs by vendor. Here I can see the cost center name. So here the one in orange, let's go to my right. I have to see which one it is, which will be medical, I guess. The one in orange is the one that basically is calling all the POs for these particular vendors in the United States. If I go to the list of POs, so the way to read this report, let me start again. We have the overview, small report with the fund, vendor, cost center, number of POs. If we go to the second tab, list of POs, we are expanding the view and data stored in the report. See fund, vendor, cost center, and then we have, instead of number of POs, we have the PO number now. And we have information about whether it's a service or it's a material. And the same information as we said before, requested amount, confirmed amount, and invoiced amount. But if we want to expand even more these reports and the details, we go to the third tab, PO detail. And then you see that report is now being increased. Now I have more information. I have more granularity of information, cost center description, PO number, number of items in the PO, smart number, product category, the product, the plant, requested quantity, unit, and at the end, the requested amount. So as you are navigating to these three tabs, you are expanding the view of the report. And at the end, you can have the same information, but aggregated in a chart in the world map. Okay, the same will apply if we go to the procurement in peacekeeping 4 sections. This is the cost centers, the overview, list of POs, the PO details, and then the charts. Okay. So these two are quite useful if you want to have an overview of all the POs that have been ordered or created by vendors or by cost centers in each of the peacekeeping operations. In the previous session, we did have some requests why we do not have this same report for special political missions. I guess that it will be only a matter to request these reports in I need to the unit here in Valencia. They will be able to create it. So remember that we covered in the presentation information about the contracts. Then we covered just a bit slightly how we can analyze the POs by fan center and by vendor. And finally, we're going to jump into the last two reports, which are, I believe, are the most interesting reports, the 6 and 7. First, the end-to-end report timeline from shopping cart to PO, and secondly, the end-to-end report based on shopping carts. So let's see how they look. Let me go back to that presentation. So it's important that you receive this presentation because we have now the idea of where you can find these reports. Because as you can see, it's a bit messy with all these numbers and codes. Okay, so You see end-to-end web intelligence reports for BI14 in the share folder analysis. EFS reports first acquired, and now we have the subfolder end-to-end. We have plenty of reports. I can tell you that not all of them have are completed, have information that are completed. Because sometimes what happens is that there are changes in the model of data, in data models, in the backend, in the data universe, in data universes in BI, and those changes are not reflected in the reports, and those changes affect negatively in the layout of the reports and the way the data is shown in the report. So every change that is done in the data model has to be informed, has to be shared with the developers for them to take action if necessary in the reports that they have created. So this is the report that we want to see, end-to-end report timeline from shopping cart to PO, version 1.2. This is how the report looks like. We have information in the left panel on the shopping cart with the number, status, purchasing group, fund sensor, the creation and approval dates. And we have on the right part information on the PO with the PO number, approval date, and the item type. Then in the middle here, I have information on days. And this is quite interesting because I have starting from shopping cart to RFX to the PO. And this GR, actually it means goods received, but we don't have information at the goods received level yet. So we should remove this concept. Actually, shopping cart, RFX, and then PO. But besides this small issue, we have here information, and let's read together these four numbers. Okay, so for a particular mission, we do have 26 days in average. That's the way we read. 26 days in average for all the shopping cart creation to approval for our particular portfolio of elements. 26 days is an average. It takes 31 days as an average from shopping cart approval to PO creation. That's B. And C will be PO creation to PO approval, only 10 days. So the average time from a shopping cart to be, let's say, transformed in a PO approved in this particular sample of information and data takes 66 days. So this is really the way to read this report. And on top of that, this is at the header level, let's say, but we have information here by shopping cart. So this is the average of all the sample, and then we have information by each of the lines of each shopping cart. On top of that, we have other tabs in the report where we can visualize in a very nice way all these averages. So you see, if we go to the second tab, I will see that in production, we can see a breakdown by fund sensor of all those POs and shopping carts and the average time that takes from the shopping cart to be approved to the shopping cart to be created in a PO, and the time to approve, the number of days to approve the PO, breaking down by fund centers. In this case is units. Here is the legend, the color code. In blue is the average time that takes from a shopping cart to be created to be approved. Blue. 46 days, for example, in municipal come. For example, here in human rights, I have 3 days. In some other, like in public information, I have 29 days. In TEVE, CATS, it takes 77 days. And shopping cart approved to PO creation, that's in green, let's say from the requisition into the procurement part, I have information here in green. 47 days it takes as an average in all the shopping carts to be, let's say, transformed in a PO for UMIS aviation. Only 5 days, for example, in UMIS safety and security. And only 5 days, for example, in movement control. So all of these averages are broken down into fund sensors. On top of that, I have here top 15 product categories. What they mean? These are the product categories which are taking most of the time from a shopping cart to be created to a PO being approved. Here, for the product categories boards, as an average, takes 370 hours, 1 year, to be the whole procurement process to be done. Okay, I think this last refresh was 2017. Let's launch this report by 2018 and see whether UNIS has changed and we have a better KPIs. Right. So let's run the same report in production, end-to-end timeline from shopping cart to PO. Remember, it's in the end-to-end folder, end-to-end report timeline from shopping cart to PO. Excuse me. Double click. Okay, this report is the one that we saw. Let's say, let's refresh the data. Okay, you see the calendar year initially was 2016. Let me change that. Let me put 2018 and see whether we have a difference there in terms of average time. The same. You see here I have purchasing group in ECC for image and purchasing group in SRM. Why in the query I have two lines with the same concept? Okay, as if you recall correctly in the first session where we said that BI it's a system devoted only to reporting and pulls out information from several modules. In this case, it's pulling information from ECC and the same information from SRM. So the purchasing group code in ECC, it's different from in terms of coding, data coding is different from ECC and SRM. So the system, the query is telling you, okay, give me the purchasing group in ECC and the one in SRM. It has to be the same. In ECC, I have 4. In SRM, I have the same 4. But I have to put the same 4 or the same 5 or the same procurement groups, purchasing groups in both systems in this query. As long as you put the same and then a calendar year, you can run the report. And this one is really, really fast, as you can see. It takes only several seconds for the data to be refreshed. You see that automatically is changed, and the average time in units is changed, let's say, drastically, in a good way, let's say. So, we have list carts with information of the shopping cart creation date, information on the time that takes from one document to become another one to be approved, okay, and its POs. I go to the charts, you see that it changed much better now, right? Units now takes much less time in terms of average time for a shopping cart to be approved, for a shopping cart to be converted into PO, for a PO to be approved. Since its creation, I said that in general, as an average, and by fund center, it takes less time from 2016 to 2018, much less. And then if we go to the top 15 product categories in days, you see that initially, if I go to the presentation, we saw that boards were almost 1 year, IT training almost 1 year, writing instruments almost 1 year. Here I cannot see any of this. I see other product categories, but the number of days has been reduced in 1/3. The maximum is 110 for hardware support services. So we can see here that basically for image safety and security, we have created shopping carts and approved, and as an average takes 35 days. And we have good numbers here, for example, in public information in units. 3 days is an average for the whole procurement process, requisitioning process, shopping cart creation, shopping cart approval. Only 4 days is an average, the approval of the PO. So this is the way to read this report. As you can see, it's very visual, and you have a pretty good idea of how the mission is doing. You can always set refresh and put the data instead of on units. I have to select, deselect both of them. Of course, you see that all the both lines in terms of purchasing group, SRM and ECC are mandatory. That's why we have a red arrow here. So we put here -1, for example. And I will find the same thing. Minusma, Nasaram. Take all the first years in 2018. Remember that we were seeing you miss information. Now we change the query to Minusma. Right. So here we do have all the breakdown of the fund centers in Minusma. Now here we can see here that in the PO part, the procurement part in Minusma, especially for the ground transportation, it takes an average of 49 days. In comparison with some other fund centers, it's it's something here we have to investigate, right? But if we go to the details, here we have the specific details by each of the shopping carts and POs. I don't know what you guys think, but this is quite useful, especially for procurement and requisitioning process, to have a initial idea of how things are doing. On top of that, we have here at the header level the number of shopping carts created, the net value local currency, the number of POs created, the ones ordered, and its value in local currency. So it's always nice, to have a list of data, and then in another tab, the same data transformed in a visual way, right? It's really, really nice because we're so used to seeing list of things, reports, data, and many other list of data. But sometimes it's a bit difficult to dig, especially if you're working in web intelligence reports. So it's always really nice to see another tab where we can visualize the same information broken down in colors, in maps, in pie charts or bar charts. So that's in terms, and let me go back to the presentation. Okay, this is the end-to-end report timeline from shopping cart to PO. And we find here the last report, which is the end-to-end report based on shopping carts. Again, it's in the shared analysis, DFS, BS reports, just to acquire end-to-end, and this is the report that we're going to launch. This how it goes. Again, a list of shopping carts and its corresponding POs. Okay, interesting to know that you see the LBAs are not shown in these reports, because why we don't have LBAs here? Because the LBA is a PO. It starts automatically from a PO. It is not shopping cart involved. So any PO starting here between 3, you will not find it because there is no corresponding shopping cart in the system. So if you want to see the LBAs, you have to go, and let me go back to the documents introduction, source to acquire. You see LBA and IC purchase orders. Here, this is the report you need in order to analyze LBAs. Okay, because the other one, the end-to-end report, this one that we're going to show to you right now, takes on account shopping carts and POs, right? And then we have information on the product category and the product ID. So let me go to production and go directly to the end-to-end reports. And we check that is the one. End-to-end report based on shopping carts version 1.0. This one. Okay. Double click. I think this one automatically gives you a report. You don't have to refresh. As we said before, we don't care about the mission or business area. We just want to know how to interpret these reports. First tab always is summary. Second is an extended version of the same report. So first summary, you see if I zoom to 75%, you see that basically I have information here in the shopping cart, and then on the right on the PO. Make it back 100%, so I can link each shopping cart with a PO. This is something that we can do in ECC, right? depending 23N, but we have to put a decode and put a PO, so on and so forth. Here, in just 2 clicks, we have the overall view of how the shopping cart is linked to the POs or the other way around. On top of that, you go to our right. In terms if this PO has been transformed into an invoice, we do have information about the invoiced amount. See, invoice amount. So we know that from this shopping cart to this PO, we do have an invoice here in place. In some others, we don't, because probably in the finance part of the PO has not yet approved, who knows. But if we have information here in terms of invoicing, in terms of amount, that means that there is a invoice in place and we are about to pay the vendor. That's in terms of summary. If you go to the extended report, here I have to scroll to my right to see the number of columns. Only in shopping cart it's all this. But then we jump to the PO. There we go. So it's plenty of information. Especially here, have information in terms of product category and product ID, how it's linked in the PO to the shopping cart. The difficult to read this report. You see? That's why it's important to use the freeze panel. Okay? Yes. You can freeze based on the columns. You see first, second, third, fourth, fifth. If it's fifth, when we scroll to our right, it's frozen here, right? If we go to freeze and we put in the first one, it will be the shopping cart number. Which actually I think is easier. But with a link directly here, if I can do it properly, shopping cart number with PO number and different line items here, 5 for the shopping cart. And information on the vendor, and if I go to my right, even the invoiced amount by line item. So that's, I think this is a really nice report as well. So it gives you an overall view on how the requisitioning part is linked to PO in a summary and an extended version. Do we have any? Yes, of course. We will really. Yes, we did share with you some of the of these presentations and the recording as well. So after this session, we'll present again the recording and then the presentation for you to have as a reference material. Okay, so back to the presentation. So this is the view of the report. This is important as well. So in case that you need to request need reports or there's some problems in terms of performance and some issue that you may want to raise, you have INEED, and you can use this INEED group, TFS Umoja reporting /VI support. And then if you are not using INEED, you can always send an email to this generic email account where they will be able to find out what's going on with the report that you're using or any other requests that you may have. Okay. So then we go back to the original plan and check this one as covered as well. So remember what we did before we finalized the session. We saw 3 contracts, 3 reports for contracts. In terms of NTE, we have information in the second one of each contract with a buyer, and the third one how to analyze each of the regional and local contracts with information of US dollars at the header level in terms of contracts. For procurement in peacekeeping, we have 2 nice reports. One of the POs released and the invoiced amount by fund center by vendor with information in a world map, kind of nice visual way to understand where the vendors are located by procurement sections, and then 2 end-to-end reports. The first one related to a timeline shopping cart to PO. Remember, the average time that takes for a shopping cart to be created, to be approved, a PO to be created, to be approved, broken down by fan centers in a particular mission, and then the second one is the incident report based on shopping cart. So everything pivots through the shopping cart. You see shopping cart starts, and then we scroll to our right and we have information of all the shopping carts and linked to the procurement process, especially to the POs and even the invoice amount. Okay, so that's basically what we wanted to show. We don't want the WebEx to last more than 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes, because it is also usually difficult to follow only the voice on the presentation. So hopefully it was something interesting for you, something that you can use. We really appreciate your time, and we would appreciate more if you start using these reports, and especially if something is not doing very well. And if you have any more questions, we're happy here to support and to help you guys out. So let me see if we have any questions. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Please note that we will send you the recording version of this session and then the presentation that I just went through. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.